Thank you for sitting with me. Today, I want to start with chapter 3 of this book to you. I think last time we finished the second chapter. Chapter 3 has the title To You Who Are Totally Exhausted from Fighting with Your Spouse. Of course, Sawaki Roshi himself wasn't married, and most of these quotes don't really have to do anything with matrimonial fights. But the guy who edited this book, he also invented the titles of the chapters. His name is Kushiya Shusok-san. So he thought that the quotes that he put in this chapter also have a relationship to family life and fighting with your spouse. The first quote is, when you're fighting with your husband or wife, you don't realize that the argument is about an illusion. But in Zazen, you recognize illusion as illusion. This is why it is important to look at life with the eyes of Zazen. Do you want to translate or shall I continue?
Yes, I want to translate. 前面这就是今天我们从第3章开始读，然后这一章的那个题目是写给那些已经觉得就是跟你的配偶吵架吵累了的人，然后因为就是我们这个作者这本书的作者，泽木老师他其实没有结婚，但是这一章是别人写的，可是写这一章的人把他的名儿去掉了，他没有加上他的名儿。其实这一章不是泽木老师写的。然后前面这第一段我大概给大家翻译一下，就是当你和你的丈夫或者是妻子吵架的时候，你没有意识到，其实你们都是在用错觉在吵架，但是在坐禅当中，你会意识到错觉是错觉，或者是你会意识到幻觉是幻觉。这是为什么？非常的就用坐禅的眼光，用禅的眼光来看你的生命或者是生活，是一件非常重要的事情。
So Sawaki Roshi here basically says that in ordinary life, often we are so absorbed by what we do that we don't even realize that we're just being used by an illusion. Fighting with your spouse is one example, or you feel like you want to drink a beer and you've already opened the refrigerator, and the next thing is you open the can and drink it. Or there's a mosquito that bites you, and before you know, you're already scratching yourself. And in Zazen, I doubt that we always recognize our illusion as an illusion. Sometimes during Zazen, we react in the same automatic way, but at least it's easier in Zazen. For example, when a mosquito comes and bites you, in Zazen it's easier to just sit there and just observe the mosquito biting you, and you feel that you would like to scratch yourself, but you also discover the freedom to not scratch yourself. And also, when it comes to fighting with your spouse, sometimes during Zazen you remember the fight from yesterday. Yesterday she told me this. Next time I meet her, I will tell her that. And even in Zazen, sometimes we get absorbed in this inner dialogue, in this fight. But also in Zazen, sometimes you realize, oh, I'm just thinking, I'm just being used by my old thoughts, by my anger. I sometimes use this example of, how do you say in English, kanlansha, but it could be also merry-go-round. When we do sit Zazen, we sometimes hear you're not supposed to think. But when we sit Zazen, there's all kinds of thoughts coming up. For example, this thought yesterday, that guy told me this. Next time I will tell him that. And sometimes I say, these thoughts that appear during Zazen are like a merry-go-round. But in ordinary life, you would already ride in that merry-go-round. You're carried by the merry-go-round. And the point in Zazen is to get off the merry-go-round. You don't have to stop the merry-go-round from turning, but you don't sit in there. So it's like you're sitting on the top of a mountain and you're looking down, and there is this amusement park, and there's all kinds of vehicles, and those are your thoughts and your emotions, but you are watching from the top of the mountain. And of course also in Zazen, it sometimes happens that you realize, oh, I've been riding in the vehicle. Even during Zazen, sometimes you get into the merry-go-round, but then you wake up from that and you realize, oh, I'm thinking, I'm absorbed in my illusion. And the easiest way to get off is to just be mindful of your breath at that moment, to be aware of your physical sensation at that moment. And that will help you to get off the merry-go-round immediately.
然后这一章呢，其实主要讲的就是，就好像我们，比如说，其实你想喝酒的时候，你已经打开那个冰箱门了，然后把酒瓶已经打开了，但是你其实已经做出这个行为了，但是你才意识到啊，你原来有点想喝酒，或者是比如特别明显的例子，就是大家被蚊子叮咬之后，你可能已经开始在挠了，然后你才意识到，哦，原来我这里痒痒。我刚才被蚊子已经叮到了，就是这一些都是你无意识的一些行为，你没有察觉到。可是，在坐禅的时候呢，你就很容易能够，让你察觉到，比如说你在坐禅的时候，有一个蚊子咬到你了，然后你会感觉到在痒痒，或者是你感觉你想挠，还是你没有在挠，其实就是这些会特别明显的让你意识到，就好像我们有的时候坐禅，你可能会想起来，你白天比如跟谁吵架了，或者是那个，然后你会想，我在吵架的时候，我下一次跟他吵架，我见到他，我应该怎么样回嘴？我应该怎样？我今天不应该这样。就是你在坐禅的时候可能会想到这一些，就好像是那个，我不知道大家。就是那个小的时候，游乐园有一个游戏，那个叫就是你踩到那个上面就会转的那个，我也不知道那个叫什么啊，它就飞快的转起来，那个一直在转圈儿，一直在转圈儿，那个游戏叫什么呀？就是是旋转木马吗？还是那个？就是有一个游戏哈，就是你一直在那儿转圈儿，一直在那儿转圈儿，然后我们在做禅的时候呢，你可能会以一个观察者的身份来观察就是你今天发生的事情，或者是你的一些之前没有意识而做出的一些事情来，你会变得有意识，就好像在山顶上往下看一样，看到你之前发生了什么事情。我们做禅的时候，虽然是应该就是不要想不要有想法，但是你会虽然是不应该想，可是我们都停不了。可是你在想的时候呢，你的想法就会变得很明显，就是你很明显的意识到你可能想起来什么，你是不是又回去了？一直在做那个旋转木马，一直在那旋，一直在走来走去，走来走去，一直从那里面出不来。所以坐禅其实是让我们更加的有意识，更加的让你做什么事情的时候更加专心，然后在你做出行为之前就意识到你其实已经有了这个感觉了，让你变得更敏感一些，大概是这个意思哈。
Okay, let's do one more quote. The next one is quite short. Whatever you were thinking just now, it's gone already. Actually, the original Japanese is a little bit different. When you look at the original Japanese, what Sawaki Roshi is saying here, whatever comes into your head, it won't stay there for ages. And I translated this into German, and I think it was Werner Penzel, the director of the film Zen for Nothing. That's a film that came into European cinema theaters about, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 years ago. I think he changed it around a little bit. He changed it to this form. Whatever you were thinking just now, it's gone already. And at one point, he asked me, I got this quote from your book, but what does Sawaki Roshi say in Japanese? And I was looking for the quote all over and I couldn't find it until I realized, oh, he was talking about this. I think that his version is quite good. Of course, the original version is also true. Whatever comes into our head, it won't stay there for ages. It won't stay there for a couple of years. But actually, this version, I think, is even better. The moment we realize we are thinking, it's already gone. And it's only that we grasp to this thought and don't want to let it go, that it stays there. But if you just realize, I've been thinking, the thought is actually already on its way out. It sometimes happens to me. I don't know if you have something like that yourself. I sometimes get angry, but I forget why I got angry. It sometimes happens to me that I feel angry, and also I remember there's a reason. There was a reason, but I forgot the reason. And then sometimes I have to think about why was I angry? And when I remember why I got angry, oh, it's because my wife told me this and this. Then I feel kind of assured, oh, there was a reason. But I think many of our thoughts and our emotions are like this. We have to somehow create a story to keep them alive. But if you realize, oh, this is just an emotion, this is just a thought, and you forget about the story that you built around it, it's already gone. It's already gone. Whatever you were thinking right now, it's gone already. It's gone already. You just have to let it go.
然后这一句呢是那个泽木老师写的，就是前面那一小段哈，第一小段不是泽木老师，第二段是泽木老师写的。然后大概其意思就是，不管你在想什么，就是不管你刚才在想什么，其实已经过去了。就是不管你刚才在想什么，在你意识到的时候，其实已经过去了。但是这一条翻译呢，这个翻译是根据就是那个吴芳老师他把泽木老师的那个书翻译成了德语，然后他和别人一起合作翻译的这本书就翻译成英语的。他当时在校正的时候找了半天没找到原话哈，因为这句话翻译其实跟他原来泽木老师写的那个有点出入。原来那个泽木老师日语写的是就是不管是什么在你头脑里当中的事情都不会停留太久。大概其实这个意思，但是由于翻译成德语，然后又翻译成英语哈，所以它有一些出入了。但是那个吴芳老师就是他在校正的时候呢，觉得其实这个翻译更好，就是不管你就是当你意识到，不管你在想什么，可是当你意识到你刚才在想事情的时候呢，其实它已经过去了，就是没有什么是可以停留的，当你意识到在想的时候，其实那个事情已经过去了，然后老师说，不知道大家有没有这种经验，就是老师之前会有这种经验，就比如说你生气了哈，或者你生某个人的气，这个事情过去之后呢，你可能只记得你生气了，但是你忘了为什么生气，可能你记着这个人他在说什么，但是为什么说这个，然后你忘了。然后你就开始想可能是因为这个，可能是因为这个，然后他说了我这一句，可能是因为这个，原来是因为那个，就是你会先记住这个感觉，然后好像知道个什么事，然后最后再把这个故事编起来，其实是你最后补充的这个故事，就是所以如果我们能够意识到呢，感觉或者是你的这种感受呢，它其实在你意识的时候已经过去了，你其实就不会陷入自己在编的那个故事当中了。就是如果你真的完全意识到的话，不会再自己编起来一个故事，让自己再困在那个故事当中。 然后这句话大概就是这个意思哈。
Okay, I want to finish reading the quotes here. If you have questions or anything you would like to share, welcome. Please either raise your hand or start to talk like that, or you can also write into the chat function if you like. No questions today? Julian, please.
Someone's got to be the first. I never want to be the first, but I just wanted to say something about storytelling because it's the absolute crux of the matter. You know, I've been thinking about this a lot in my work as a writer and a therapist. And then with my brother taking his own life, he was totally caught by his own story about his own negative emotions. And it trapped him so totally, despite everything I tried to do with him, that, you know, it can become a matter of life and death. So it's not just that passing moment, is it? It's that sometimes an entire life trying to, I think Andrea just wrote about opening the hand of thought in Uchiyama Roshi's expression, that's the whole thing, isn't it? So yeah, I just wanted to say thanks for using that topic today. It's really helpful to me. So thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, hi. I'm in California. I don't want to take too much time. It's the wee hours, but I'm so grateful to join. So I'm staying warm. It's quite cold and all that storm. Yeah, I've been just jotting notes, and again, I don't want to take too long. But yeah, my best friend's son a year ago seems like he was swallowed up also by this question of our thoughts, and he was young. Illusion, what I wrote about the two different points as I heard them say opening the refrigerator or maybe the argument and so on. What came to mind is what's maybe labeled impulse in our daily experience, and being driven by that or ordered about by our own impulses. I try not to wax on here, but I'm fairly recent coming to this. The sitting helps a lot. But in terms of life as an illusion or reality as an illusion, a whole separate huge discussion. But what occurred to me is also the word interpretation of what is. Certainly there are tangible things. I'm a mom, I'm a grandma, I'm a teacher of children, and and so on, but our interpretation of what seems to be, and so on. And then about the thoughts, granted, how well said that as soon as we think them, they're gone. And for me, it opens up a question of, well, hang on a minute. A whole lifetime, thoughts are so precious, so powerful, kind of the crux of what we are and who we are. And maybe it's more focusing or training or disciplining to let probably the majority of them go. But when something has value, to pursue it to the extent that it can become us and worthy, and then it lasts and you can go back to it. I mean, I'm just sort of opening up myriad things at risk of the merry-go-round. But no, this is very well said. I'll be quiet and give the floor back. But thank you.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. Yeah, our thoughts, as you said, are powerful tools, and to deal with our lives, we also need thoughts. It's not that we want to live our whole lives just thoughtlessly. It wouldn't be possible unless we have people around us that always care for us and make sure that we meet our appointments and don't miss the bus and things like that. So yeah, thoughts are also important, but often what is a very powerful tool becomes kind of something like the master, and we become the slave of our thoughts and our drives. And I think that would be a pretty unhealthy thing to happen.
Precisely. Agreed.
Diane, you're raising your hand.
Hello, Muho. It's
Whoa,
so nice to see you.
Thank you. You're in Japan right now?
We will be. We will be shortly. But
You're not in Japan right now?
oh, I am. Yes.
You are. Yeah.
Yes. The only thing that comes to mind, well, a lot of things come to mind, but I think the thing that I would share is that you maybe are better off when you have these thoughts. It occurs to me that you're going to do something about them.
Mm-hmm.
And it could either be a reaction or a response. And I think it's very important that the reaction is not done in more a response, because it requires then for you to be thoughtful with your thoughts, rather than a reaction of, probably something that you might regret doing. I don't know if that's relevant to what you were saying, but it makes me always be aware, be careful, don't react, respond to your thoughts. That's
What would be a response compared to a reaction?
For example, I recall many years ago, my daughter was in school and she got in trouble because a boy said something to her, and they were in the dining hall, and I think she actually threw ketchup or something at him. That's a reaction. Where a response would have been to either ignore or say, I didn't care for that, or go to a teacher or something. That's what comes to mind as far as the difference between a reaction and a response. A response requires you to stop and think. A reaction is just like you open the refrigerator and next thing you know, you're opening, like you said, a can of beer. And I've often heard it said, and I've seen it written, react, respond, do not react. I would be interested if there's other thoughts on that.
I see. Well, I would say that in the Zen, probably you wouldn't even respond. You notice the thought. It's not that you ignore the thought. You don't try to eliminate the thought, but you notice the thought and let it be.
Well, maybe a response is to do nothing, is to be quiet, is to let it be. But you have to consciously be thinking about that. Doesn't it require a thought to not respond, to not take an action against something? It sounds almost like I'm being redundant, but
maybe in the beginning, if you're so trapped by this, how do you say, habit, this habit to react. So probably in the beginning you have to remind yourself, oh no, right now I'm doing Zazen, I shouldn't be reacting. But if you get out of this habit, I think you don't have to invest any thought into that response of doing nothing. You're just there, you're just witness to these thoughts coming and then disappearing again. It's often the metaphor that's often used is like the sky, and there are clouds floating through the sky, and the clouds are the thoughts. And you're just the sky. You're just open for these thoughts to come and then to go. And I think once this habit of always reacting is broken, you don't really have to invest any thought into that. Maybe in the beginning, it's helpful to remind yourself of not reacting, but once Zazen becomes the habit, the state of being the sky becomes the habit, I think it's not even necessary to remind yourself of that anymore.
Thank you. That's very good. I understand that.
Yeah, if I love that, and I just briefly, in French, répondre and réagir, and it's in English, of course, the same Latin base, but the one is so clearly agir is to react, is action, whereas to me the morphological sense of répondre is to put it, to place it. It has nothing to do with addressing someone, certainly not with action, but it seems so contemplative to place it, and to me that is synonymous with a non-reaction, with a just the quiet. Very briefly, I wanted to share this. I was listening to San Francisco Zen Center chat last night. I hadn't heard this or this put this way, that it's all quiet. And it's in the quiet, all of reality takes place in the quiet, which is accessible to us individually at any time. And so when things get noisy or highly active or reactive, remembering that it's all kind of a stage founded in the quiet, and that to me that seemed like so liberating, that we don't need to be drawn impulsively into joining the fray, the battle, and boy do I face that every day with these. I'm in a very, very rough community where there's a lot of drug use. It's Northern California, Mendocino County, and just each one of my 25 third graders come with a litany of burdens. They're only 8 years old. So this is also helpful. Yeah, thank you, all of you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Anything else you would like to share? Nothing? Julian is raising his hand. Julian, please.
What I actually wanted to ask you was a very personal question about your own practice. After all your years of meditation. When you're sitting Zazen and you realize you're on the merry-go-round, which must happen still, I'm sure. What do you do practically? Do you still come back just to watching your breath?
Yeah. Usually I don't focus on the breath alone. So I try to be aware of the whole scenery of what's happening right now. For example, the sounds. Or when you're sitting outside, there's the feeling of the wind touching the skin. The whole physical sensation. But I mean, mostly the moment you realize, oh, I've been sitting in the merry-go-round, that moment you're already off. So there's really not much you have to do afterwards. Unless the tendency to jump in again is very strong.
Okay.
But so usually I don't really focus on the breath, but for many people it's very helpful, especially in the beginning, to have something to focus on. And the breath, also because it's coming and going, so it's not a static thing. If you just focus on a point at the wall, that's also possible. But the nice thing of the breath, it's coming and going, and that makes it easier for the consciousness to stay there, because there's this, well, just like a wave.
Okay.
Anything else that you would like to ask or share? If not, it's a few minutes past 9 here in Japan. I would thank you very much. Next week, same time, same place. If you like, join again. Have a nice week, everyone. Thank you.